What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Dylan back here for another video, and today is part one of my three-part series talking about the primetime NFL games for 2018. If you guys saw last year, I made the Sunday Night Football schedule, grades, and rankings. It was a lot of fun. I love Sunday Night Football. It's my favorite primetime day out of the week. And I decided this year I was going to talk about all three: Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night. I think Thursday Night Football in particular got a lot better this year. It looks like Fox wants to compete with Sunday Night Football, so I appreciate their efforts because Thursday Night Football has been a joke for the last couple of years, and this year they really stepped up their game with some big-time matchups. So I'm not only going to look over Sunday Night Football this year, I'm looking at all three primetime schedules and ranking them. There are 15 games this year. There's two of them that aren't listed for NFL Network. It's because it's on NBC, but they're on Thursday night, so I decided to put it in this list and not the Sunday Night Football ones. It's Week 1 and the Thanksgiving games that are listed as Sunday Night Football, but they're really on Thursday nights, so I'm going to lump them in here, which makes it a total of 15 games we're going to talk about. I'm going to rank them from worst to best. I might even give a grade in there, but it's going to go from worst to best, and I'm going to rank, why it's this ranking, why these two teams don't go together, or why these two teams are going to produce a really good game. And you guys, stick around. It's going to be a really fun video talking about all the matchups for 2018. So let's go ahead and get into the list. At number 15 and in last place, we have the New York Jets taking on the Cleveland Browns in Week 3. The Jets' 2017 record was 5-11. The Browns' 2017 record was, of course, 0-16. These two teams were not very good last year. Let's be perfectly honest. I think we all know that. The Jets, they got a couple of more wins than I expected them to, and Josh McCown was good for a pretty decent part of the season, but then he broke his hand and the season was over. The Jets, they don't really know what they're doing right now. They got Bridgewater in free agency. It's questionable what the Jets are doing right now. We don't know what they're going to be doing, and I just don't expect a lot from them. The Browns, terrible season last year. Probably the worst season in NFL history. They went out and got some decent free agents, Tyrod Taylor, Jarvis Landry, good stuff right there to make them at least a little bit better. But again, let's be honest, do we expect these teams to be very good next year? No, not really. And it's a pretty poor matchup, especially for this new rebranding of Thursday Night Football with Fox getting the rights. It's not a very good game. I know they need primetime games, but it's not one I'd think many people are going to stay tuned and watch. So it's in last place because these two teams are pretty bad, to be honest. Number 15, Jets and Browns. At number 14, we have the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 2. The Ravens' 2017 record is 9-7, and the Bengals' 2017 record was 7-9. The reason this is in second to last place is because this matchup doesn't intrigue me. You know what I mean? The Bengals last year regressed tremendously. The Bengals haven't made the playoffs in the last two seasons, but Andy Dalton had a terrible start to the year last year, and it didn't get a whole lot better. 7-9 is more respectable than what I thought they were going to be by the first couple of weeks, but man, it was just not very good. This Andy Dalton experiment, I think, is going to be over by next year. I don't know why Marvin Lewis still has a contract or is still with this team. They just don't want to win. They really don't want to win. The Ravens were so close to making the playoffs. The only reason this is even a little bit intriguing is this is the first matchup between the two teams since the Bengals ended the Ravens' playoff hopes in Week 17 of last year. So there's a little bit of intrigue in there, but I don't think the Bengals are going to be very good. I think Joe Flacco will obviously start this game. I want to see what Lamar Jackson will do, but that might be towards the end of the season. I don't think Week 2 will be the week we see him. I just don't like the matchup between these two. Nothing really here intrigues me. I don't think either of these teams are very strong. I think the Ravens are a decent wild card contender, but they're not very strong in making this a good matchup. And I think the Bengals, unless they're playing the Steelers, there's nothing to talk about in their games, to be honest. So I have this one second to last because I have little intrigue in this game. At number 13, I have the Miami Dolphins taking on the Houston Texans. The Dolphins' 2017 record was 6-10, and the Texans' 2017 record was 4-12. The reason it was 4-12 was because Deshaun Watson missed the second half of the season. The Texans just decided to tank, and now they're here with their quarterback that I think is going to do really, really well in his second year. You saw the numbers the first half of the season of last year was tremendous. He's going to be great this season as well. For the Dolphins, I don't really know what they're doing. Is Tannehill going to be the quarterback that we would hope them to be. The Dolphins had some kind of hope when they drafted him, and now I don't really know. He's coming off just these ridiculous injuries and bad luck. The Dolphins have been kind of stagnant, and it's a weird situation for this Dolphins team. They played 3 primetime games last year, and I don't really know who organized that, but it was not very good. I mean, they actually won one of those games against the Patriots, but that's a division rival. Sometimes they get that. They lost a close game to Oakland and got destroyed on Monday Night Football last year. So whoever organized that, I don't know, maybe you should be fired. Regardless, I don't think this is going to be a very good matchup because I think the Texans are going to blow out the Dolphins. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I feel like those are there are a couple of blowouts in every primetime game. I feel like this is going to be one of them because the Texans offense is going to be too much. Deshaun Watson's going to go out there, throw it to Will Fuller, DeAndre Hopkins, and that Miami Dolphins defense is going to be exposed. I don't know what their record's going to be through 8 weeks, but I don't think it's going to be very good, while I think the Texans are going to be competing for the AFC South, and I just feel like this is going to be one of those games that are defining in their season. So I think this is going to be a pretty easy win for the Texans. At number 12, I have the Denver Broncos taking on the Arizona Cardinals in Week 7. The Broncos' 2017 record was 5-11, and the Cardinals' 2017 record was 8-8. Surprisingly enough, the Cardinals team actually picked up a couple of victories at the end of the season to make them a 500 team. Now, Bruce Arians is gone. The new regime, I guess, of the Arizona Cardinals is taken into effect. No longer are they the big contenders of the NFC West. Now that's up to the Rams and the 49ers. I think the Seahawks and Cardinals days are over for right now. They're in that little bit of that rebuilding process. They got their quarterback, Josh Rosen. I like what he can do. I like that they got Christian Kirk in the draft as well. Larry Fitzgerald, of course, still there. Old veteran. He's going to make his presence, of course. But I don't really know what to expect of the Cardinals team. The Broncos, they got Case Keenum in free agency. They said, screw it with the quarterback experiment. We're going to get a guy that did pretty well last season, all things considered. And this team needs to do something as well, considering they're in a tough division. Don't know what they're going to do. And I think this is going to be an interesting battle. This is the first one I actually kind of want to watch out of the Thursday night group I've talked about. I think it's two teams that are trying to rebuild, trying to group for the next couple of seasons, and I think they're doing a good job so far. The Broncos also got Bradley Chubb in the first round, which I think was a great selection. I talked about him in my candidates for Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. And I think both of these teams in general are going to put up a good contest, but I couldn't put them higher than number 12 because some of these matchups are really, really good, and it's against proven teams that are built for right now, not for the future. So if you want two teams that are looking better as it was compared to last season, I think this is a good matchup, but it's just not the best yet. So that's why they're number 12. At number 11, I have the Indianapolis Colts taking on the New England Patriots in the Week 5 matchup. The Colts' 2017 record was 4-12, and the Patriots' 2017 record was 13-3. I think this game was the hardest to rank on the entire list. I just think that this game could be a bust or it could be a really, really solid game, and here's why. If Andrew Luck is not playing, then this game is going to be a bust. The Patriots will absolutely blow them out in one of the easiest games to miss all year. But if Andrew Luck is playing and doing decently well and trying to make this comeback player of the year thing happen, then this could be a really intriguing matchup. You know, back in the days, we always saw the Manning-Brady matchups of the Colts and Patriots, and that's why we always get excited for these kind of matchups. But that matchup is no longer a thing. Nowadays, we saw it for at least a couple of years that the Luck-Brady matchup could be pretty good, and if Luck comes back, I could see some good things out of it. But the Colts are not a very good team. They're just kind of stagnant without Luck. And again, if Luck's not in this game, this is not going to be a good matchup. I had to place it at number 11 because I could see some interest in here, and I do think there's a possibility Luck will be 100% by that point, but I can't rank it in the top 10 because of too many question marks here. The Patriots, I think, are going to have better matchups on Sunday Night Football for sure, so it just doesn't really match up with the rest of the Patriots competition. I had to put this one at number 11 because there's too many questions. Starting off the top 10 here. At number 10, we have the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the New York Giants in Week 6. The Eagles' 2017 record is 13-3, and the Giants' 2017 record was 3-13. These two teams had drastically different seasons. I remember when we were coming into preseason last year and predicting the records, we thought the Eagles were borderline playoffs, like they were going to be close to making the playoffs, but not much success. I know AC, I think, had them as a wild card team, but we didn't expect them to do very much. They ended up winning the Super Bowl, and we thought the Giants were going to at least be in the NFC Championship game. I had them as the NFC representatives, and they went 3-13 and fired their head coach. So I don't think many people did very good in predicting these two teams last year. But the Eagles are fresh off of winning a Super Bowl. This is the first of two appearances you're going to see them on this list because of Thursday night situations. We'll talk about that later. But the reason I have this at number 10 is because I have no idea what to expect for the Giants. If they play with the talent that they have and play as well as their potential could be, I think this could be a great matchup. We've seen great games between these two. Think back to the Michael Vick comeback a couple of years ago, or a while back. Last year, Jake Elliott nailed the 61-yard field goal to win the game. Eagles-Giants in Week 3, I believe. That was a great game. These two give us some pretty good matchups. It's a competitive division in the NFC East, and these two teams are obviously doing very well, or at least the Eagles are doing very well. The Giants are trying to bounce back, so I think it could be an interesting matchup, the defending Super Bowl champions facing off against a division rival on primetime football. That's what it's all about. So I think it could be a good matchup, but I got to see more out of the Giants to put it any higher in the list. So I think 10 is a fair spot considering some of the games we got here later on. So number 10, Eagles-Giants. At number 9, I have another divisional matchup. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Tennessee Titans in Week 14. Jaguars' 2017 record was 10-6, and the Titans' 2017 record was 9-7. These two teams were fighting for that division. They did very good. The Titans actually sneaked out a victory against the Chiefs in the playoffs last year, and the Jaguars made it all the way to the AFC Championship game. Jaguars, I think, are close to a top contender in the AFC. They have proven themselves, and if Blake Bortles can be even decent, this team will have good success, especially with that great defense that they have. The Titans, they got better, got some big free agents. They got a new head coach. I like what I see out of both teams here. I think this could be a competitive game, and considering, I think it was last year, I made a joke that this game should have been on Comedy Central instead of the NFL Network, or now it's going to be Fox. It might have been 2 seasons ago. Maybe it was 2 seasons ago. Either way, they have come tremendously far since that point. And I think this is going to be a good matchup. I like the division aspect of this. It's Week 14, so there could be some pretty decent divisional implications on the line. I know they got two teams that also want to fight in that as well, but these are the two teams that had the highest chance of winning last year. And this year, I see nothing different. I think Jaguars are going to be right near the top, and Titans are still going to try to make a run here in Week 14 to even at least get a wild card spot. So I think this is going to be a good matchup. Mariota, I think, will try his best. We'll see those big-time free agents and that they got in the offseason. Really, they'll be in their big part of their season by this point. But we'll see a good matchup that we didn't see last year. And I think it should be a good one. So I got number 9 here, Jacksonville versus Tennessee. You know my divisional stance here at this point. At number 8, we have one of the more intriguing matchups of the Thursday Night Football schedule, and one I'm personally looking forward to watching. The Oakland Raiders are taking on the San Francisco 49ers in Week 9. Both teams ended up being 6-10 last year for very different reasons. The Raiders, I thought they had potential. Their quarterback, Derek Carr, played tremendous in 2016. I like what I was seeing. There was a lot of things to look forward to in the 2017 season, but everything kind of felt flat. It just didn't work. The chemistry wasn't there. Carr did not play to his potential, and Jack Del Rio was fired as a result. They brought in John Gruden, who is going to bring this old style of football back. He loves Derek Carr, so I think that combination is going to work really, really well. The 49ers have not been very good for the last couple of seasons. They won one game before Week 13, I believe. Was it 13 or 12? One of the two. And then Jimmy G said, "Hold my beer. I'm going to win the last 5 games for us." They went 6-10. Surprisingly enough, it didn't look that way, but Jimmy G went in, got 5 more victories, got signed to a huge contract, and these two teams are looking to the future. They are not looking in the past. They are looking to build on the future of their organizations. And for the 49ers especially, their stock has risen as a result. The Raiders are looking a little bit more confident than they were the year before. I think they're going to like what they see out of Gruden. We're going to see if he can still coach in the NFL. But right in the middle of the season, this could be a big win for either team and could really show that they're contenders to try to be a big team or a big threat in the playoffs if they make it. So I like this matchup. There's some youth in there. There's a combination of people going to back up what they got in the offseason with contracts. It's going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be a high action, maybe a high scoring matchup. That's going to be interesting right in the middle of the season. So at number 8, I got the Raiders and the 49ers. At number 7, we have another divisional matchup. The Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 15, the final Thursday Night Football game of the season. The Chargers went 9-7, and the Chiefs went 10-6. These two teams had pretty interesting years last year. The Chiefs went 5-0, lost a lot of games, made it to the playoffs, and then got beaten by the Tennessee Titans. Good job. They're pretty much the chokers in playoffs. The Chargers had an up-and-down year. Looked like they could have possibly made the playoffs, but it just wasn't meant to be, and luck is not on their side. It really isn't. I feel bad for the Chargers organization sometimes. But this year I think it's going to be a little bit different. I think the Chargers right now have the best odds of winning that division. Their defense is solid. Phillip Rivers still knows how to play at a very good level, and they got great talent all the way around. The Chiefs, I think, are going to lose maybe a couple more games than they're used to in the last couple of years because Alex Smith is gone. Patrick Mahomes is in, and I really like what I saw out of him in college. I think he's a great quarterback, but he's got to have time to develop, and they're just going to throw him out here in his first season. I guess the second season, but he didn't get a lot of playing time last year. He played in, a game? So this is a big season for him. This is a big season for the Chiefs to see what kind of development needs to be made on Patrick Mahomes. We don't really know what the Chiefs' record's going to be like at Week 15. Is it going to be below 500? Is it going to be a really good record and a chance to make the playoffs? We never know. But I think this could be a big matchup because last year the implications were similar. You know, it was Christmas time. It was Christmas Eve, I believe. And they played that big division matchup that got the Chiefs the division, basically. And this time around, it could be for the division. You never know. This AFC West is very difficult to manage and predict who's going to win. That's why this matchup is more intriguing. And I like a big division matchup near the end of the season with playoff implications. So number 7, Chargers and Chiefs. At number 6, we have the Green Bay Packers taking on the Seattle Seahawks in Week 11. The Packers last year went 7-9, and the Seahawks went 9-7. The Packers last season did not have Aaron Rodgers for half of the year, so that's why their record was 7-9. And the Seahawks had a tumultuous season. Sometimes they looked good, sometimes they looked absolutely atrocious. The Seahawks lost a lot of people this offseason. I mean, a lot of people. It felt like it was a record. I mean, Paul Richardson went away, Richard Sherman is gone, Sheldon Richardson. You name anybody that was important, they almost pretty much left. Jimmy Graham, who left to the Green Bay Packers, which should be interesting in this little setup. Jordy Nelson is gone for the Packers, but I think the Packers are going to do very good for themselves and have a run at this division, and at the very least a wild card spot. I know Aaron Rodgers wants to come back hungrier than ever, and Week 11, this could be a big matchup of whether or not they succeed in trying to win this division or maybe miss the playoffs. You never know. This game could be a big turning point for them. I think the Seahawks are really going to digress. I think they'll be like 6-10, 7-9. So people are going to ask why they're here at number 6. I think these teams give pretty interesting matchups. We saw the 2014 NFC Championship game where the Seahawks came back. And last year wasn't that great to start off the year. But I think these two teams could put up a good matchup. I think the quarterback dynamic of Rodgers and Wilson will bring some pretty entertaining moments. And who knows? Maybe the Seahawks are still in the race for it at Week 11. There's only going to be 9 games played for them, so about half the season. There could be something to look forward to if you're a Seahawks fan there. You never know. I think this could be a big-time matchup. I think it's going to be more of the offenses going against each other more than the defenses, so you could expect maybe a high-octane game there. But I think it should be a good matchup between two of the better teams of the last couple of years. We got Packers and Seahawks at number 6. At number 5, yes, we're in the top 5 now. The Carolina Panthers are taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Week 10 matchup. Panthers went 11-5, and Steelers went 13-3 last year. Both made the playoffs, both had pretty good seasons, and it's one of the better matchups in terms of overall records from last season. The Panthers pretty much relied on Cam Newton. They had basically no receiver threats besides Devin Funchess. Greg Olsen was out, and there just wasn't much talent. DJ Moore comes in to fix that equation and help that offense out, and Christian McCaffrey is in his second year, hopefully improving on a pretty decent rookie season. The Steelers, of course, they got their big 3. Ben Roethlisberger, I talked about him in my AFC North video, being the X Factor. He could be an X Factor in this game. You got Antonio Brown, a big receiver threat, did absolutely spectacular last season, and Le'Veon Bell, a great running back, probably the best running back in the entire game. Their offense is solid. The defense for both sides is pretty intriguing. Not the top of, not the best overall, but some things to like about both defenses. I think it's going to be a high offensive matchup here. I've said that about a couple of matchups, so I think this one in particular is going to be a high-scoring affair. I like both of these teams. Panthers are going to try to find a way to probably get in the wild card, considering their division is incredibly difficult, and the Steelers are looking to get this win, considering they will have the division pretty much against the Ravens probably. So two teams that are, again, playoff contenders for sure. There's things to like about both teams, and I think this matchup in particular is going to be a big turning point for both teams in this season. Week 10, that's right around the middle of the year. Both teams could use a big victory over the other. So I like this matchup. Had to start off here at the top 5 with the Panthers and the Steelers. I like what I see. At number 4, we have the New Orleans Saints taking on the Dallas Cowboys in Week 13. The Saints finished off 2017 with an 11-5 record, and the Cowboys went 9-7. These two teams had pretty interesting seasons. The Saints, for the longest time, did not have a defense. For 3 seasons, Drew Brees just had to do it all by himself. But in 2017, that changed. The defense got good. Marshawn Lattimore was Defensive Rookie of the Year, and Alvin Kamara was Offensive Rookie of the Year, surprisingly enough, in a dangerous two-headed running back combo of him and Ingram. They did tremendous. They exceeded all expectations and are looking to do even better in 2018. The Dallas Cowboys hit a rough patch with Ezekiel Elliott being suspended for 6 games, and they kind of just fell flat in the last half of the season. But there's still a lot to like from both of these teams, both looking to make the playoffs once again, and I expect this to be a really good back and forth. I think the Saints defense got a lot better, of course, in 2017, and they're going to put the pressure on the Cowboys. The Cowboys D-line is going to put the pressure on the Saints offense, though. Drew Brees is going to look to sling the ball to Michael Thomas, who did great in 2017. And the Cowboys, Dak Prescott, is he going to bounce back here in 2018? 2017 was not his best season for sure. He played good in the first half, did not do very well in the second half. I expect some good competition between these two. These are two teams in Week 13 looking to build up a playoff spot, and I think both of them could use this win in a big situation. I like what I see out of both teams, and they're both very high caliber, at least close to top 10 teams. Saints are a top 10 team. Cowboys are close to a top 10 team. And I think it should be an intriguing matchup towards the end of the season that could really help both of them get farther on into the year with a nice, solid victory. So I get the Saints and the Cowboys. Should be a fun one. I like to see the running back game there with Ingram and Kamara for the Saints and Elliott for the Cowboys. That should be awesome to see in this matchup. At number 3, we have the Atlanta Falcons taking on the New Orleans Saints on Week 12, the Thanksgiving game. This is one of the 2 games here that I don't have the nice photos for. I apologize. This is what we're going to get for number 3 and number 2. So it's just because it's not actually Thursday night football. It's just games that are happening on Thursday night. Sounds stupid, but here you go. So this is a really good matchup because last year the NFC South gave us a lot of really good games, and the Falcons and Saints were no exception. Their Thursday night football game last year was an absolute banger, with Drew Brees throwing that pick in the end zone to basically end it. But it was a really good game for Thursday night football, and I expect nothing less this time around. Especially on Thanksgiving, you're always expecting some banger games, and this is the primetime game, so I expect this one to be very, very good. The Atlanta Falcons took a step back after making the Super Bowl the year before, but are still very good with the talent that they have. Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, they got Calvin Ridley, the list goes on and on. The Saints, like I just talked about with the previous entry, they got a lot of talent. I like what the offense can do, and I think their run game did get stopped in these matchups against the Falcons, but I think could provide some spark in this game. It's going to be a back-and-forth contest. I don't expect a blowout. I don't expect anything less than a really close game that could come down to the final possession, which is what you want to see in these big-time matchups, especially in the division, and especially a big, it could change the rest of the season for the NFC South. It could mean that the Falcons are going to win this division. It could mean the Saints have a bigger lead on the division. You never know. These games are very crucial, and Thanksgiving can't ask for more than that. So number 3, Falcons-Saints divisional matchup. At number 2, we have the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Philadelphia Eagles on opening night this year. We have the Atlanta Falcons 10-6, Eagles 13-3, Super Bowl champions. They had to defeat the Atlanta Falcons in the playoffs in the divisional round in order to get to the Super Bowl. The Falcons, that was a really good contest from both sides. Not a lot of offense. The defense was playing very well for both teams, and it ended up being a really good sequence at the end. The Eagles stopped Julio Jones from making the catch. It was a really good game overall, and we're going to see it here to start off 2018. I'm looking forward to it. I think the Atlanta Falcons want to show that they can score more points than they did. They want to be more of a threat. And starting off the season hot against the Super Bowl champions, that would be a big momentum boost for them. The Eagles, they want to start off hot again, show the fans and show everybody across the NFL that, hey, that 2018 or 2017, 2018 was not a fluke. It was just the beginning of something special. And I know Philadelphia is going to have a lot of competition this season, but starting off the season with a big win against the Falcons, once again, would be a huge momentum boost for them. So this is a good matchup for both teams. I like what I saw out of the Eagles offense throughout the season. Of course, the Atlanta Falcons offense did slow down because of Steve Sarkisian's ineffective play calling. We'll see if that gets better in year 2 for him. I want to see how these two teams come into 2018 and show their best work here. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. Starts off this football season. Very excited that's getting closer and closer. So starting off the season right with the Falcons-Eagles matchup. Can't wait. And we're finally here at number 1 is the Minnesota Vikings versus Los Angeles Rams matchup in Week 4. The Vikings went 13-3, and the Rams went 11-5 last year. The reason I have this at number 1 is because there's so much star power. There's so many good things to like about both of these teams. These are both Super Bowl caliber teams that are trying to claim the NFC crown this season, and I think they got a pretty good chance to do so. The Vikings obviously got Kirk Cousins, the big free agent acquisition. They got a great defense, a very, very solid defense. Great secondary, great defensive line. They've got their running back Dalvin Cook back, the receiver threats of Thielen and Diggs. Great offense. You got to love everything about the Vikings and what they're doing. Rams, they went free agent crazy this year. I mean, you got Marcus Peters. You got Aqib Talib. You got Ndamukong Suh and Brandon Cooks. Are you kidding me? This Rams team got even better after being the number 1 offense in 2017. That's absolutely insane. I know 3 of those people were on defense, but still, this team got even better than where they were last season. The head coach of Sean McVay did absolutely well in Season 1, thinking he can do even better in Season 2. And this matchup, I mean, it's Week 4. It's early on in the season, but it could be a preview of what's to come later on in the playoffs. You never know. It could be that way. These two teams did excellent in 2017. I expect them to do great, even better in 2018. And it's loaded. It's a loaded game. And I got to put that at number 1 because it's got the best potential. It's got the most impact, I feel like. It's got the most punch to it. So Vikings, Rams, number 1 game, Thursday Night Football schedule of 2018. Thank you guys for watching this video. I know it was a long one, but I had fun making it. I hope you guys enjoyed it, talking about the Thursday Night Football schedule. Next time, I will be doing the Sunday Night Football schedule. So that should be a lot of fun. I made that last year. That was the only one I made out of last year. So this is part 1 of 3. Stay tuned for parts 2 and 3. If you guys enjoyed it, like the video, hit the like button, whatever. Comment below your thoughts. Did I have some games a little bit higher than you would have? What are your most anticipated games of 2018 for Thursday Night Football? Comment below all that stuff. Subscribe to The Bottom Line View. Mitch is putting out those X Factor videos. Those were very good. I hope you guys enjoyed those, so go watch those. The last Top 100 video is coming out very soon as well from Mitch, so stay tuned on that. More NFL content is coming on the way for The Bottom Line View. So we're doing. Peace out, guys.